this part of the conversation that I want us to have, it is very relevant and it affects everybody. You know, there's a portion of how AI is going to affect the economies of countries, how AI is going to create jobs for us, like what you guys have already said in previous presentations. And then also there's the uncertainty of if people don't elevate their skills or build themselves up, then they won't be able to find themselves in the future that AI is carving for us. So I want us to have a conversation about I'm not letting us concentrate too much on Charlotte's presentation, but I want all of us to have this conversation about how AI is going to affect the economics of the African continent, because we are struggling as a continent, right? And then if we look at Ghana, where Ghana is right now, we are always being downgraded, and now us being downgraded is affecting our ability to even keep our economies sustained. How do we implement AI systems such that it would help build our economies? Guys, do you understand what I'm saying? So I want us to have this conversation. Charlotte, I would want you to start this conversation off for me, based on your conversations and all the meetings and stuff that you've had with the AU and all your travel arounds and all the trainings and stuff that you've been doing so far. What have you learned with the systems that are being developed currently that you think is going to be useful to African nations for us to be able to develop our economies based on artificial intelligence? Charlotte, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, and good afternoon, and thank you, Kwame. So I think that my next presentation is a bit focused of that. So I don't know if it's a mix of, but basically, I think that Dr. Moore or A. Congo, or even Samuel too, they talk a bit about like the real challenge we face right now in the African market, right? So, but I think what we should remember is the fact that there is always a possibility. If you talk about like, let's say in Africa, we are not sure about the jobs. If the jobs tomorrow are going to be change of what impacted, the answer is yes, because definitely technology is not today. And previously in the first revolution industrial, you notice that people have that same fear, right? They're scared about like the future. Still, we had a lot of new opportunities, new jobs were created. Today, you can call people data scientists and whatever. So I think the same is the same line. So it's going to be in that way. But right now, the fear is a bit different because that AI is focused on simulate human intelligence. And it's kind of like, wow, that's so close to like, I'm not going to be able to do something. But if you think that way, it means that you're not ready to upgrade your skills and learn. And I think people will show fear if people don't want to learn, they want to make sure that they want to change because the system is here. Right now, in our current, let's say, traditional curriculum, is a bit hard to say that you focus on that and be able to achieve or whatever you want to achieve. Because if you go to school, the same in Ivory Coast, I'm from Ivory Coast, but in Ivory Coast, I'm sure even in West Africa, Ghana, if you go to university, the same curriculum our father used to do. So nothing's changing. So we are still trying to engage on that. When we meet, we talk about how we can engage with government, engage with the right stakeholder to make sure that they're all involved in the change, because it's not just us speaking here and just standing. You need a lot of action. And even if you know that, okay, we need to upgrade the curriculum, let's say that has a lot of a new kind of let's say how do you call it even in English? Let's say a new mathematics, we need to agree the way we teach mathematics to students, for example. We need to make sure that we engage with students in terms of what they need to learn. Because for myself, from my own experience, when I was in high school, for example, I didn't know much about tech, kind of, but I was able to end in the tech space, I would say by chance. But for some people who don't have that kind of chance, they go to study something else, because what they know about the space is like, if you go to school, you need to go through the standard process. I need to be a doctor. You know, my doctor, I'm not saying no, but it's kind of like they direct you in some standard jobs and standard career paths. And I think that if we need to change, we need to make sure that we change that path. We need to give option to people. People are sitting in the room, tell them that, okay, you have a possibility today. Today we are in the age of tech, of data, and wherever. There's a lot of opportunity that be created. Now let's start learn about things. Make sure that our students, they learn math at the basic level in primary school. They're good enough. And there's also a need to engage on problem solving, like Dr. Moon said, because that's really important in terms of even development. You need to be a developer, you need to be able to understand problem solving, you need to be an entrepreneur wherever you start. And also it's very important to make sure that we collaborate, because even as we are building a model, let's say you're an entrepreneur, you're a scientist, wherever you can call yourself, you're a builder. Let's say that you need to work with industry experts, because you are not doing the job alone. I can be good in machine learning, but if I don't know anything about FK, what I'm building in that space, I need people who understand it can work with me. So it's very important to also embrace collaboration, making sure that there is a lot of inclusion for women as well, because there's a lot of gender gap in the space. Even people are still I mean, that's not talking about that, but we need to see a lot of numbers speak, right? Numbers speak. So we still have that gender gap in the space, but it's because if you check in kind of decision maker, there is not a woman there. We are always put a woman in some side to say that, okay, let's be there just to make sure that we have like a nice faces about the company or whatever. But you know what I mean? It's more like branding stuff sometimes, but as women, we don't want this, because we want to be chosen because of our skills, what you can bring on the table, right? And not because we are just women. It's very important to make sure that our voice, people can hear our voice, and they can understand, or like we have the capability also to build models, and that's what we are looking for. So it's very important to empower young women who's at women in primary school, girls in primary school, for example. They have to be aware of like the technical aspect of career. You know, you can go there, you can study math, you can study computer science, you can study wherever you want. There's a place for you there. You are welcome from in that space. And yeah, it's a lot of things that need to be linked. Even right now, we are already in the age, in the era where we are talking about consumption of AI products, but we also to address the regulation, the ethical aspects. So there is policymaker that have to play the role. So there is many stakeholders we need to be involved in that boom of AI. Africa, we are at a stage where we are a bit far compared to the developing market. Let's call them like that. But it doesn't mean that you should just wait and watch the movie. We can be also, we can be part of that. You can play some role, even if it's just to put the cap somewhere. One cap is okay. You can just be able to play something. So there's a lot of work we need to do. And in terms of data infrastructure, in terms of like physical infrastructure, there's a lot of work the government, the all government have to do. If you check on South Africa, people are working. You go in Kenya, they are doing some work. Why not doing the same in Mali? You know, there's so many countries we can just learn from each other and work together to get where we want to be in that boom, AI boom. Yeah, that's what I can say. But I think that also in my presentation, because I have a slide as well, I can also go through some of the specific like value of AI in some industries as well. Yeah.
Sure. You'll get to your present. You will definitely. I want you to go through those slides, but I want to. Dr. Stéphane has to step out and go for meetings. I want us to engage him, and I want all of us to have this conversation about the future. Dr. Stéphane, please turn on your video. What does the future look like for us as Africans if we don't embrace this thing and run with it?
So we what is going to happen is that people will determine the pace for all of us, right? That's what is going to happen. People are going to determine how our life should be run. People are going to dictate to us, so we will not be part of the ecosystem. So for example, if you have to find yourself in an airport to transact any business, what it means that you'll not be recognized, assuming they are going to use the retina and the eye as a form of allowing you to enter. It means that you will not be part of those global conversations, unless maybe you have to do that. So people can decide to take us out, just like the way our raw material has been used. So if you look at Africa, We have gold, we have bauxite, we have cocoa. Cote d'Ivoire is leading in terms of cocoa. Ghana is second. We have a lot of gold. We have even lithium right now. People will determine how that journey should be. So that's what's going to happen. So whatever has happened to Africa today, if we do not lead, we do not invest, we do not look at the future of this, that's exactly pretty simple as it's going to be.
So what's the mind? What should our mindsets be as we want to look into the future? What should our mindset be?
We should know we have equal opportunity, and we should just know that we have equal opportunity. We have young talent. We should know that we have wealth of resources. We have a lot of solar. At least everybody's talking about climate change, and if you have to do renewable, you have to do the generative power of AI and all those ones. We have a lot of solar advantage to be able to also be part of this climate change. We should also know that we already have research centers that are there for us to take advantage of, right? And we have the enthusiasm, right? And we also have the track record. So we should also know that we have diversity because we have the African continent that we are coming together. Recently, we are having a lot of talk in terms of AU summit, where we are having a lot of presidents saying that, look, you know something, we will not now call all ourselves, put ourselves in a bus and go and meet someone. And we are just going to stay and also have it be part of the table, right? So that mindset for us to be able to know that we have all these to our advantage and no one is better than us. I think we should just know that we have equal opportunity for us to take advantage of. I think that's what I would say.
If I may add,
yes.
Yeah, if I may add, I think like you said, I think this AI tools, they actually give us more advantage as Africans than the other parts of the world, in the sense that if we deploy them effectively and we become serious about how we use them, especially these predictive models, we could be telling that now Nigeria is going to expect a flood in July. Let's put in the right steps to avoid that, instead of things just getting us caught up in between when things are going down. If we took a proactive step in terms of implementing these AI models, especially the predictive models, could be a great advantage for us when you look at things like climate change, when you look at things like agriculture and all those things, where we need to know what we need to put in place for us to get this. If we know what we need to get, then we need to know we need to put in place. If we analyze our soils, especially we are to analyze our soils and all that, because we are more of an agricultural community, most of us, it's easier for us. It makes easier for us to deal with these challenges using this AI system. But then the major problem is sometimes when you tell people about these things, you tell them, AI is coming, and in the future we may not need even customer service care. Those guys of customer service, someone looks at you and is like, "What do you mean we're not going?" This kind of mentality of Africa, we are jobless, so we need to oppose everything that comes along the way, that tries to take away what we are doing, that tries to take away our jobs and all that. I think that's one of the greatest challenges that is going to be in terms of these AI systems when it comes to African continent and all those on all these other continents that that have so much unemployment to deal with in the first place. You have unemployment, and then you come in with this system, you're telling people we are going to have more unemployment, It kind of becomes challenging. But then if we take a different approach in terms of how we think of these systems, we are talking of employment being taken away, then we can tell people, although we are taking away this employment, but we need more data scientists, we need more data, programmers and all those other people, because of course, even now they have come up models that generate codes. It can generate a code for anybody. It must be someone who understands how this Python works and how all these things work, how all these things connect, for you to use the auto generation of code and all those things. So we kind of need a total shift in how we look at these things. Instead of looking at them as the biggest enemy in town, we look at them as the biggest companions to help us make our lives better.
So I saw a statistic that, Dr. Stéphane, I'm asking you this question. 41% of all the code on GitHub currently are AI generated. So then I ask myself, what is going to happen to programmers if I am not a senior level, if I'm not a senior engineer? Let's just say I'm in school and I graduate from school and I am a junior entrant. I'm a junior software engineer. And whatever code that I'll be asked to write, an AI can write it for me. I mean, I've used, it's interesting, recently, I just used ChatGPT to write a plugin I was looking for to build a platform I was working on for a client, right? And it worked perfectly for me. So let's just say now I don't need any junior engineer to come and build that plugin for me. What would happen to me? Let's just say I just left, I'm graduating this year from KNUST, computer science. How do I make sure that I can be able to get a job in the tech space, knowing that AI is not just replacing marketers, AI is not just replacing script writers, AI is not just replacing photographers, AI is about to replace me that I'm being encouraged right now to learn how to code. I'm being told, go and learn Python, go and do this, go and do that. But if my Python code can be generated by the AI, then what happens to me, the tech person? You're on mute, Doc.
Sorry, okay, that's an interesting question. Let me give you a big background about myself. I think I failed to, I lecture, I also lecture in Ashesi University. I don't know how many of you know Ashesi University. So I'm one of the faculties in Ashesi, and I've been doing that for the past 7 years, trying to help students go through. So recently I was teaching Python, introduction to computers, trying to learn. These are the conversation you are bringing is something that I was telling my students that, look, how do we become better people? How do we contribute to a global economy to ensure that over a period of time, the things that we are learning today, machines can do it for us. So how do we, I think in one of your earlier questions was to AI would not actually replace people. To those who are actually using AI, that will replace. So programmers would exist. But see, can you imagine a world where I don't need to build a lot of code and I can have holidays and I'll still be paid, right? Because there's going to be an economy where there's going to be money, people must consume it. I think sometime in Libya, I was told that monies were being paid for people for not doing any job at all. No, that world would come because there's going to be a global journey where there will be a lot of money, robots will be working for us, and all that we are doing is a holiday. I had so much fun when I first heard that I used it, ChatGPT, to just even build a login page. And in my company, it is the very first thing that I'll ask. If you're about to work and you bring me a document, the very first thing I'll ask you is that, did you use ChatGPT or BAD to do that? If you say no, I'll return the job. I'll ask you to go and use that and bring it back. That's the very first thing I do. And I took time to make sure that I encouraged every single department, right, from the brands to the marketing, even to the engineers themselves. I'll tell them that, look, use BAD or ChatGPT to get your code. Yes, there'll be some few mistakes, but by and large, it becomes very, very interesting. I don't believe that all these things will take the jobs of these programmers. It's going to enhance our jobs, but it's going to make the world a better place. There'll be new things that we're learning. In the past, we didn't have people who were content bloggers. It was not a job that was there. Content writers, it wasn't a job. But when these things came and journalism was changed, we thought TV stations were going to lose their jobs and all. But it is complementing their jobs, so they are playing a role. So like you're saying, to cut across all these things, we should insist on making sure that we have a work-life balance. And how do we make sure that the world is a better place, right? We can think about climate change, so these are things that we should be worried about. We can talk about food security. There are many things that we can think about, and these technologies can solve all these things. But we should insist that everyone who is coming out, whether you're a journalist, you're a programmer, you are a brand person, you're a technologist, use these open AI solutions to complement your effort. So I think we should continue to have this conversation. We should not be scared. Can you imagine? Look, I did a presentation for this. I was about to make a presentation. I never used my brain. I asked my team, kindly use ChatGPT BAD. But I gave them context and they prepared a presentation for me. And that's what we go. So I agreed with whatever is going on. Did it make me better? Yes, it gave me the right content. Instead of going to do little, we are researchers. There is no way you do a work without doing literature review. And I think BARD and ChatGPT has done a good job for us to do all the literature review. Perfect for it, bringing it into one area for us to do. Will it take my job as a lecturer? No, it cannot take my job as a lecturer. But if you're a lazy lecturer and you are not learning, of course, it will take your job. And I think that Ashesi is always glad to ensure that my contract will be renewed because of the content that I bring to bear. So I don't think these things will take anybody's job. I think that's what I have to say now.
Great. Do we still have you for a few minutes, or you have to leave now?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm around for some time.
Okay. So now I want us to look at the future of education. Okay. I think I have always had a challenge with the education system in Ghana, and this maybe I should ask Dr. Moore, since you are also a lecturer at UCC. Ashesi is more prim pro, right? It's prim and proper. The regular public universities is that's where my biggest challenge is. It looks like the way our education system is structured, it doesn't challenge the minds of students for us to do more. You know, like for instance, when I was in first year, you go to the lab, right? And then there's what do you call it? There's past lab questions. That one of the lecturers that taught me is it environmental chemistry. His notes is the same notes that he's been using for 4 or 5 years. So all the seniors who have come through his course, they have the notes already, and there's the same questions that you can literally predict the kind of questions that he will bring in the exam. How do we move on from this, right? And how do we make sure that we have a refined education system that would incorporate AI and the tools which are being developed to make the students more rounded, to be able to fit into the world where we are getting ourselves into? Because I get worried, you know, when I have conversations with some students and they don't sort of know their left from their right on certain basic things that I feel like they should be able to have a grasp on those things. What can we do, Dr.
Okay, so let me pick this before he comes, so I can drop when I drop Lely. So let me pick that one. So yes,
Sure.
Yes, you've already alluded to the fact that Ashesi might be prim and proper, but I think every university is like that now. But I'll speak for Ashesi as it stands now, since we are looking at the future of education. So let me give you an example. We started a curriculum called a Master's in Intelligent Systems. So we wanted to come out with a course that would allow us to say, okay, how do we get our students who would build intelligent systems? And by intelligent systems, it means that we are looking at the future of work in Africa. And that was the Ashesi model. So the security, cloud computing, fog computing, edge computing, and nano computing, and everything that big data and all those ones, that would allow, not even NLPs and all those ones, that would allow the world to be a safer place. So that's the first problem statement that we came up with. So in building this curriculum, what we did is that we put faculties in place. So, okay, what does the world need in the next decade? And what would Africa need in the next decade? Do we have the kind of skill? Do we have the kind of teachers that will facilitate all this kind of thinking? So that was a model that we created. Then we invited industry from all over, so across sector. So and that was the work I led in preparation of that curriculum. So we went to the Bank of Ghana, we went to AGI, we went to the financial sector. Anybody who played a role in the economy of Ghana, we invited them to a table for a conference, and we had given them our curriculum that, look, this is what we see the future like in terms of their building intelligence systems for Africa. What are their inputs that they put in place? Will they hire a persona of this particular form? And what are they? So there was a contribution that we did and we brought entrepreneurs, we brought even past students, we brought students from other universities to be able to come and have an input and all those ones. So this is the model that Ashesi is employing to ensure that there is that gap where students are coming, they cannot copy. Even an Ashesi, it's difficult for you to copy someone's code and come and submit to a faculty. Most of Ashesi's faculties have hands-on, they have technology, they understand what the industry is. I am the CEO of Npontu, and I've been running the business for a number of time. So they need people of that sort. And there are also theoretical aspects where we complement each other. So that world where the future of education has to include how do you call it, include a new skill, the new job market, the new talent. Ashesi does that very well, and that's why some of our students, you can see that they are transforming the world and they are making change in that way. I cannot speak for other universities, but I do believe that since we are all accredited by the National Accreditation, but these are the requirements that we'll need. It's the same forecast across all other universities. So that's what I want to say. I wanted to make this input so that if it's time for me to drop, then I would have to drop and go. Thank you very much.
Sure. Dr. Moore, I need you on this. On the same question I asked.
Yeah. So I think I can say, for instance, when I spoke earlier on, I said in 2006, when I wrote my bachelor's thesis in KNUST, the title of the thesis was Early Warning Detection for Malaria in Toddlers Using Neural Network. It's the same school that we all went to. Nobody really said what should be done and what should not be done, or what are the limits and what is not possible. I think that largely our education system just seems to train us in a way that probably there is no direct direction into these things. But if you are an ambitious student and if you are a very determined student, you read around, you check around, you have the ability to explore. And I feel this is what our education is about. Even here at UCC, I do supervise students at the computer science departments on their project work. And most of the things I supervise them are 3D development. 3D development, because I feel this is a market, this is not available in Ghana. And so I just call students, I say, hey, if you are interested to learn 3D development, you want to do a project, send me a message, and then I'll put you on board and I'll train you and I'll teach you what are the basic things you need to do and then help you to develop the skill. I feel these are the ways that we try to contribute to the changing of the system or the society. UCC is also trying to do a lot here as well. Of course, in the public universities, to change things is a bit slow because there are a lot of bottlenecks, a lot of bureaucracies, unlike Ashesi, which is a private university,
right,
and they can easily change it as and when they want to because it's private based. So it's not the same for public universities where there are people you need to convince. There are a lot of bottlenecks, hierarchies. So it takes time. But for UCC, what is starting now, maybe for this year, is a new school called the School of Sustainable Engineering, which will start hopefully this year. And the new school, which is School of Sustainable Engineering, will have a center called the Center for Artificial Intelligence for Sustainable Development, which is going to inculcate things like AI, things like artificial intelligence in all of them, their curriculum. So all the people in the School of Sustainable Engineering are going to take Python programming for 1 year. And in that period, they are going to learn machine learning, different types of the machine learning models. And not only the School of Sustainable Engineering, also, for instance, the School of Biological Science are also going to introduce Python programming to all people who are going to study biochemistry, biology, BSc Biology, BSc Biochemistry, BSc Forensics. All of them are going to be introduced to Python programming. If you come to the mathematics department, computer science, we're also trying to introduce Python programming all across board. In the whole idea being that students must increasingly become aware of opportunities in this space. And for me, I feel for sometimes I used to teach them MATLAB programming. I changed that last year because I feel if I teach students Python, they have the opportunity to increase their own knowledge into things like data science and other areas that are increasingly becoming popular. So it's not all gone. We are trying to make increasing efforts, looking at, I mean, because I am also into the working environment. I'm not just a lecturer, I'm also a co-founder for Ghana NLP, so I know what is out there. I'm part of those who wrote Ghana AI strategy, the Ghana government's artificial intelligence strategy, so I know what is in there. I'm part of the African AI conference organizations. So I know a lot of things that is happening on the continent as well as locally as well. And I feel that it is possible that we introduce our students gradually to what is out there so that they begin to connect the dots, next week, for instance, Google will be coming here. I'm hosting Google in my university to come and tell what Google is doing and what students can benefit in, what students need to be able to be employed by a company like Google or Microsoft or IBM, discussing these things with students and increasingly raising the awareness that, the education is, you will not be taught everything in the classroom. You also have to educate yourself, as in, how can I become relevant out there? After my education, how can I become relevant out there? And I'm sure, Kwame, you know what you did for your bachelor's and you know what you are doing now.
Exactly.
You have to think, is it possible? Does it connect the dots?
No.
Or is it too far away? So education is you getting knowledge, you trying to improve yourself every day, every time. If I go to class and I teach something to students just to talk on ChatGPT, if they tell me, I give them an assignment and they find it difficult, I say, look, you can go to ChatGPT and put the question there. It may not be fully correct, but it may give you some ideas. Learn it, try to use those ideas and find out if it is true or false and build on it. If I give you a coding assignment and you want to go and use ChatGPT, I don't care. Go and use it and use the basic from there and build on it, understand it. It's the same thing that happened in the 1980s when calculators were being introduced. Many people did not like the idea of calculators, but now it's a normal thing to use calculators. Nobody really cares who is going to have time to do sine 80, sine 40 to find it in their head. That is not the essence. The essence is education, is knowledge, is analysis. Of course, increasingly people say we try to do chill and pour and stuff, but it takes time. There are certain things that are basic information and facts. You cannot run away from them. So you must acquire this knowledge. And acquiring means consistently putting yourself to it. And then there are other parts of the education that comes with analysis, that comes with what can you do with the knowledge you have acquired, the facts that we have given to you. What can you do with it? So if I go to class, they have no knowledge about some type of mathematics, I introduce them to it. These are facts that have been developed over years. So I need to teach you, I need to introduce you to this concept. Then your task is, what can you do with this facts or with this new knowledge you have? What else can you do with it? So it's the students who is to explore. As a student, you have to explore. You have to seek, what can I do with this knowledge? What is out there? And I always use myself as an example that I never knew anything about artificial intelligence, neural network. But in 2006, I wrote my thesis in KNUST on artificial intelligence. Even the supervisor didn't know anything about it. So I had to be contacting, I was in touch with the University of Stanford, the professor there who was developing neural networks. He was the one who taught me online, sending me emails and messages on what I needed to think about and what I needed to do. And this is what I mean by exploring. You may not get everything from your university, but the knowledge is out there. You can always read if you want to do something. I read someone saying he wants to combine AI with quantum computing. There's nothing like that in tech. There's nothing like that in UCC. There's nothing like that in Legon. But it is possible. That is what I want to say. That you know something about quantum computing, you know something about AI, you can combine the two. You need to go online and start searching, how can I combine these two? And this is what education is all about, that you must be self-disciplined to apply yourself to the knowledge you are acquiring, to new areas that even your lecturers and supervisors do not know about.
Awesome.
So in Ghana, it is not all lost, I always say, but I think gradually, as some of us make more noise, hopefully many people begin to understand why we are making this noise, and then they'll begin to catch the need for this change that we are talking about. Because the future really means, for me, if I say the future, I mean, if you want to get a job as quick as possible, machine learning, artificial intelligence, data science, data engineering, these are jobs that are really readily available on the market, and you can get it independent of whether you are in some village in Kumasi somewhere, or you are in all the way up somewhere in Tennessee. You will be able to, once you have the knowledge, you'll be able to get a job. That's the most important.